Welcome to One Insight. My name is Litvin. I grew up in London and I now live in LA. And this is a podcast for extraordinary top performers. You see, I've coached some of the most successful and talented people on the planet. I see what most people cannot see, and I dare to say what most people wouldn't dare to say. And what I know about success is that on the other side of it, it can actually be lonely. You can feel like more of an imposter the more successful you become. And when you're the most interesting person in the room, you're actually in the wrong room. I coach around insight. Life looks one way, something happens, the world looks different, and your entire world changes. It can happen in an instant. And this podcast is called One Insight because a single insight can change everything.
Hi, Kasum.
Hi, Rich.
Hello, Jen.
Hi, Rich.
Now, I know that both of you come from the corporate world, but your business these days, Jen, you just told me unicorn leadership, which we both know is not a title that would land very well in corporate. Mm-hmm. Kasum, you've been a blogger and a traveler, but also have a background in corporate world. And where are you two going now? You know, you said yes to being on this coaching conversation with me. You're in my community called Project Kairos. How can I support you best today? So Kasum, let me ask you first. What would make this an extraordinary call for you?
I think, Rich, for me, when I started going through the life coaching certification is when I realized that I'm someone who has coached myself all my life. And I had no idea that that was what I was doing. And yet, somehow, I feel like, we all know that we all have blind spots and we can't see our own blind spots. So I would love to identify my own blind spots.
Okay. All right. We can play. How about you, Jen?
Yeah, she actually took the words from my mouth. I do find that I want to solve all of my problems before I really talk about them with anybody else. And so I don't know that I ever take myself necessarily deep enough to get over limiting beliefs or things like that. I feel like I've fixed them, but I don't think I'm clearly not where I want to be yet. And so I know that there is something I'm not seeing in a barrier that I'm putting in front of myself. And I don't always have the courage to ask somebody else to help me figure that out.
Well, here you are. So
here I am.
You've been bold today. That's great. It sounds like it's universe put us together for a reason on this particular call, right? And I'm going silent and I'm going still to model for you that I don't always have the answer. And sometimes I have to check in. And sometimes I still don't have the answer and we see where we go. But I'm checking in this moment. I'm also aware that my wife and the kids just arrived. And I think my son's got his friends over. So it's a very human, he's busting in right now. Hello. Very human moment where I'm aware of life happening around me. So all I have to do is bring myself back. I'm at a standing desk in case you can't tell, and I'm grounding my feet into the floor to get back to being present. Because we can be taking out presence in a moment, and we can also come back in a moment. Kasum, if you asked someone who knows you best, and they were really honest, what would they say is the thing that holds you back the most?
People who really know me, they believe that there's nothing that can hold me back. Nothing holds me back.
And what goes on for you when you hear them say that?
That's exactly how I feel. If I want to do something, there's nothing that holds me back.
Okay, I'll pause there for a moment. Jen, what about you? What do close friends say? This is what's always held Jen back.
Boy, we are on the same call together for a reason, I think. They don't understand why I feel like I'm held back, why I'm holding myself back. They don't understand. I do, when I want something and I decide to get it, I usually get it. And that's what they see. Mm-hmm. They just don't know what I don't say out loud that I want. so the world sees a lot that I get what I want, but they're not seeing the other things that how far I could go if I actually really let myself.
Am I right? I can sense some emotion close to the surface.
Yeah.
What are you feeling right now? What's going on? If you didn't have to worry about eye makeup running or anything like that, what's going on?
I think and we've been over this in other conversations we've had, that it's this, what if it works? Like, I don't know. I have a 5-year vision. I have a 10-year vision. I've set all these things out in front of me. And I think it's, what do I do if I get it all? So I think that there's something there that is just.
Well, stay with the question, because sometimes we ask these questions and we assume they're rhetorical, and actually they're real questions. So what if it wasn't a rhetorical question? What if it's a question you could actually answer? What if you got everything you wanted? Let's actually go there, because a couple of things can happen. It could all go wrong. You couldn't cope. You would be a disaster. The opposite could happen. It could be amazing and it's too much. Or it could also be amazing and it's just amazing. I mean, there's the spectrum, right? What comes up when I ask the question?
I think that, when you start to move forward in a direction that you want to go, momentum will often take you and just keep going. And I maybe I'm afraid of the speed, and I definitely I have a desire to not take baby steps into this business. I watch a lot of other people do that. I don't want that. I want to get there fast. So I have all these competing things in my head that I want to get there fast, but I think, will I be ready? Like, what if I start to do some of these things and then I'm actually not ready for it yet?
Well, I know that's the thought that comes up, but again, not a rhetorical question. Because when we hear it as a rhetorical question, we just say, would I be ready? Would I be ready? Maybe I'm not ready. Maybe I'm not ready. It's like, Jen, would you be ready?
Yeah, I'll be ready.
Yeah. If I'd asked you, would Kasum be ready? Yeah, we both know that she would. It's hard for ourselves. Kasum, you can see, of course, Jen will be ready when it occurs. Look, Jen, I took some clients on a racing track a few years ago to drive a Lamborghini. It was really fun. And they gave us instructions before we began. Have you ever driven a really fast racing car?
I owned a Mustang Cobra for a while. So
then you go. Well, so you do fast. Look, here's what they told us. To drive one of these fastest cars on the planet, they said, go slow to go smooth to go fast. Go slow to go smooth to go fast. To drive the fastest racing cars on the planet, racing drivers are literally told, slow down to speed up.
Yeah, that resonates a little bit. I think I just need to remember that I don't have to be the person I'm going to be at the end of that. I'm going to be becoming that person all along. Sometimes I know these things intellectually and I just can't embody them necessarily as quickly as I would like to, because there's always a gap between the intellectual understanding and the just kind of taking it in and being able to just live that way.
That's why I said one of the things I love about coaching other people when there's a group or even just two of you, Kasum, I've got no doubt is getting her insights as I'm working with you in this moment, and the opposite will occur in a moment. So one thing I heard is momentum. Momentum is this sense in science. It's when an object is in motion, it will continue in motion. But actually for us, when we're in momentum, when we're high performers, it's not just continuing in motion, we speed up.
Mm-hmm.
And you're both in a place right now, having left corporate, knowing what it means to work harder and harder and harder, put more energy and more energy in, and get a sense of being burnt out the other end. And what we want to do is create what comes next for you, Jen, where that doesn't happen. Where momentum means an object's in motion, it continues in motion, but you get to say how fast it is moving.
I think I'm still in a state of judging myself against old corporate behavior.
Mm-hmm.
The expectation of a certain type of productivity. And I wasn't good at that, by the way. I wasn't good at following other people's norms with projects and deadlines and productivity. I wanted to work at my own pace, but I still had those guidelines to work with. And I don't have, it's like I don't have any bumpers around me. So
let's create them. Because what will happen is by default, you'll fall into those, as much as you hated those patterns in the corporate world, no one tells me how to do this, I'm going to do it my way. The moment you become your own boss, you suddenly realize the worst boss you'll ever meet is the one who sits in your chair and looks back at you in the mirror. I see you smiling, Kasum. So you've got to put the bumpers in for yourself. You've got to put the boundaries in. I said to my team the other day, I was talking to one of my coaches who's written 65 books, who's one of the most productive people I've ever met. And he mentioned to me, he finishes work at 2 p.m. every day. I thought, holy shit, why am I working after 2 p.m. if he's done things I haven't even done yet and having an impact the way he is? So I said to my team, I want to finish at 2 p.m. I don't know how it's going to happen or when it's going to happen. I want you to have that in mind, that we start to get me finished at 2 p.m. I think that was 2.5 weeks ago I said that. This week, I had 2 days in a row where I finished at noon. It's already happening. So you get to be in charge of those bumpers and boundaries around your life. This is a boundaries conversation. Now, here's the thing, Jen. I am the weak link in the chain. I am not to be trusted with my calendar or scheduling. Because if somebody shows up, I will always say, yeah, I can fit you in. Let's make this happen. Whereas my team will keep really strong boundaries for me. So whether that's an assistant or just some phrases that you use with a potential client, one of the phrases I love is, let's sleep on it. If we both wake up tomorrow and it feels like a good fit, we'll make it happen. If not, for either of us, we won't. Some of those little tools like that, or someone who's handling it for you so that you're not the weak link in the chain.
Yeah, I do plan to eventually get a virtual assistant when I feel it's the right timing for my business. Right now, I feel like I don't even know that I would be able to explain to them what I need. So I think I'm still figuring out.
All that means actually is that you're not looking for a powerful enough assistant.
Okay.
Yeah. The mistake we tend to make, I call it the assistant paradox. Our first assistant, we look for someone in their 20s who's young, enthusiastic, will do everything we say and doesn't charge too much because it feels a lot to spend. But actually, you're going to end up firing them and neither of you will understand why. And you'll fire them because they will do everything you've asked them to do. The problem is you don't know what really needs to be done. So when you're getting them to do all the stuff that you know needs to be done and they're doing all the things that you've said needs to be done, it's not actually what needs to be done. So I'm not saying you need to take on an assistant right now. One of the simplest tools you can use is have one of those online calendars and you simply block into that. I don't work more than 3 hours a day. So you can say to clients, hey, get on. You can pick your times for the sessions. Potential clients, if you'd like to speak to me, pick a slot on my calendar so that you're not doing it. Because if they're talking to you, you're going to say, well, Friday at 7 p.m., I could make that work.
Yeah, I've done that. I actually set aside Monday and Friday to be no meeting days so that I can just work on creative things. I need flow, a long time to get into flow.
Yep.
I've broken that rule many times, I think. Yep.
You're the weak link in the chain. Yeah. You're not to be trusted. Me too. And you need to have Monday be a clear day that you're not allowed to speak to anybody other than doing creative stuff or admin or whatever it is for each of those days. So that's what I do. Actually, Monday is my admin day. I talk to my accountant, my bookkeeper, team meetings. So bear that in mind. You're the weak link in the chain. And here, I'll give you one last tool. I helped a client who transitioned out of corporate who said, I used to work 6, sometimes 7 days a week. My company would send me flying all around the country and I've got my little son, he's 5 years old now, and I don't want to create a new life like that. So we blocked out Fridays on her calendar and it says, meeting with my executive board. And only me and her knew that the only person on her executive board was her 5-year-old son. Nobody ever asked, nobody said, when she said, I can't meet you on a Friday, well, what do you mean executive board? Who's on it? How often do you meet? They would just say, oh, okay. You can say to people, oh, you know what? I have a standing meeting at 4 p.m. every day, so I can't talk to anyone after 4 p.m. You get to create the boundaries how you like.
Okay. I think these are things I know, and I'm letting them be excuses for not getting done what I need to get done, especially on the creative side, which is what I'm trying to balance, creating versus coaching. That hasn't been easy for me to do. So I need to be more diligent about respecting the boundaries I set up for myself.
Well, Jen, let me ask you about that. Are you a bit of a rebel? Like if someone tells you something, it cannot be done, you're like, I'll show you how.
Yeah, it's probably on my board here. Yeah.
So I wouldn't try and use discipline. If you're a rebel, you're going to rebel against discipline. When you put systems in place, you're going to hate it. There's a great little book by Gretchen Rubin called The Four Tendencies about how we keep commitments to ourselves and to others. I'm an obliger, which means I will always keep commitments to other people. I will show up for a coaching call. I'll always be on time for my clients. There's no point in me joining a gym. I'll never go. But I have a personal trainer, costs a lot more than a gym. I work out because I keep commitments to other people. The trouble for a rebel is Gretchen Rubin says that like the tagline that you guys have is, you can't make me and neither can I.
Yeah.
Feel that?
Yeah. Every system I've set up, I can create beautiful systems. But then I look for ways to break them and work around them, even my own.
Yes. You're a rebel. So I recommend reading that book, actually. We'll give you some insights into how you show up and looking at the systems rather than spending time on that right now. We're in a conversation at a higher level. That's more about strategy and tactics, and there's a place for that. At this level, you've always done things differently. Let's have you continue to do things differently. And put some boundaries on the outside, not to constrain you, because as a rebel, you'll want to break out. My wife is a jazz musician, and she's an improviser. She's trained in improv comedy, vocal improv. You can't put Monique in a box. She will break out of it. But jazz musicians know that there are boundaries within which it's called jazz, because over here, it's no longer jazz. It's R&B or soul or pop. So the boundaries aren't to constrain you. They're to free you.
Yeah. I get that. Thank you.
Thanks. Let me come to Kasum. What have you got from that conversation, Kasum? Because whilst I was coaching Jen, what was landing for you?
I think the moment you said slow down to speed up, that's kind of my mantra this year, 2021. That's my mantra because being your own boss, we all know that, like we're saying, we are our hardest, toughest bosses that we have. And for me, one thing that you meant, I've been through your exponential coach course, Rich, and that's how I really fell in love with you and the way you do things or the way you coach, right? So one thing that you'd mentioned in that early on landed with me so strong, and it's kind of my guiding principle, so to speak, is what got you here won't get you there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what I'm trying this year. I don't know how to slow down because I have all of these big ideas, big vision, big dreams and whatnot. And I can keep working and working and working. But on the other side, I also have really strong boundaries. The only person I will listen to is myself. I don't try to do things to please other people unless it really makes sense to me. Mm-hmm. I don't. I do things on my own terms. And so this year, the struggle has been to slow down because I don't know how to. And trying to do that is slowing down. And somewhere I feel like, am I taking it too lightly right now, given everything that's at stake? Because for this year, I'm a huge believer in making goals, and like I make quarterly goals, monthly goals, and whatnot. And I have everything. And so far, I think since March, I've probably not hit any of my goals. And I'm not bothered by it. And I'm wondering, am I taking this too lightly? Am I making excuses for myself? Because I've been that person who's always in that to-do phase and to-do mode. I want to be in the to-be, and I don't know how to be in the to-be.
Well, no, what you're actually saying is, I know how to achieve in the doing mode. Set goals monthly, quarterly, annually. I know how to achieve working harder and harder and harder, working faster and faster and faster.
Yeah.
And you have this insight that beyond doing is being. And what you're actually saying is, tell me, Rich, how do you do being? Because I can put that on my to-do list and I can then do that really well.
I need to find out. I think I just need to find out how to just be and be okay with just being, because it's hard. It's me working against myself and how I know how to work, right? Because again, like I said, what got me here won't get me there. If I keep working the way I have, I know for sure I'm not going to get to where I want to.
All right, well, let me help you with that right now. I'll make it real for you.
Yes.
Remember, the phrase I love to use is slow down to speed up. The fear we have is that if I slow down, I'm going to end up lying on my couch with one of those, watching Netflix and a giant bowl of Cheetos on my tummy and just feeding myself with them all day. And not for the people like the three of us on this call, because we're always going to be about making a difference in the world and achieving. We couldn't not be. There'll be times when we want to sit and watch Netflix. I love to zone out sometimes. But I couldn't not be doing things that make a difference in the world because it's in my blood. It's who I am. And I know that's the same for you too. So you're right. What got you here won't get you there. Saying yes to almost every opportunity is what got me to this place. Saying no to almost every opportunity is what will get me to where I'm going next. Setting goals regularly got you here. My sense is it would be probably very edgy and also very challenging, but also very revealing for you to say, you know what, for this next quarter, I'm not going to set any goals. And watch what happens. Now, tell me what happens on the inside, first of all, when I say that.
It's funny you say that because I have not. I had my goals set at the beginning of the year for the rest of the year with some spaces in between to say that, hey, I'm going to fill this in with what is important in that moment. Like I said, since March. And also, interestingly enough, because it's divine timing, right? We are also expecting our second one. And I'm in my first trimester. And the last 3 weeks have been really hard. And physically, I've not been able to, even if I wanted to, I've not been able to do anything. And I have been forced to rest. And this is the actual first week where I'm actually getting my energy back. And even that is something that I've not faced. I already have a kid, and my first pregnancy was completely different than this one.
Yep.
So my energy has been at an all-time low. So I'm like, okay, this is the universe's way to say that you don't know how to slow down. So I'm going to make it easy for you. I'm going to force you to, take that time and just be okay with it. So I'm like, okay, I don't have a choice. I just have to be okay with this. So, yeah.
So it's beautiful you're having another baby. Congratulations. When's the due date?
December.
December. Perfect. Let me introduce you both to a distinction that really changed my life. The distinction is between finite games and infinite games. There's a book by James Kasum with that title, and Simon Sinek just wrote a new book with that title recently. But the concept goes back quite a few years to when James Kasum put this out into the world. So finite games are games that have rules and boundaries and a beginning and an end, and you can break the rules and be told you can't play any longer. Soccer, basketball, baseball, corporate life, they're all finite games. They have a start point, they have an end point. There's ways you're supposed to play, there's ways you're not supposed to play. You can be given a red card, told to stop playing. And then there's infinite games. Life is an infinite game. You can't win it. Doesn't matter how much money you make, you're not taking it with you. There's no way to win the game of life. Relationships is an infinite game. If you think you're winning that game, you're probably playing it wrong, because it's all about, it never stops, it never ceases. Raising kids is an infinite game. Best advice I ever got about raising my kids was you cannot get it right. So it takes off all the pressure. I've got to just play and be present. And I'm playing for the joy of playing and to keep playing again tomorrow. That's the only way to win at an infinite game. There's an infinite game of life. There's an infinite game of business, relationships, parenting. Those are the main ones that I can think of. There's not many. And not many people will ever understand this concept, will ever play and show up as if they were living an infinite game. And that's my sense for you, is to start to explore that concept. What if business could be that way too? How old's your first kid?
He just turned 4.
Right. So you know that all the goals you had for him in life, whatever, he's got his own personality, and you wait till the second one comes. We were stunned how different. We raised them the same, with the same parents, same scenario, so different. And what if you could run business like that? Be present to what shows up. Be present in the moment. Set goals sometimes. It's great to aspire for your kids to go to a great school or to get good grades, but turns out, they're not into academics. Great. Turns out this one's going to be an artist. Who knows? What values do you want your kids to have? What values do you want to live your life by? Playing life as if it was an infinite game. What's coming up for you?
The question that, what if I'm not actually playing right now? That's the sense I'm getting, that am I taking this just that being too far? That it's a doubt, because I don't know how to do this, right? So that's my own self-doubt, that am I taking this too far, where I'm just okay with just taking that, laid back seat and being okay with not doing much every day. And
so, Kasum, here's something that might really throw you. I put it to you that the less that you do, the more successful you will be in the future. I put it to you that the less that you do, the more money you will make in the future. The less time you work, the more money and impact you will have. Jen, that's the face of, yeah, I don't know about that, Rich. I kind of get it. Would you be willing to sit with that as a possibility? That's been my experience. And as I've coached more and more extraordinary people over time, I see that more and more. You see, what it means is not being lazy, which is what we fear. It means you find ways to work more and more in your zone of genius, doing those 1, 2, or 3 things that only you can do and nothing else. That's when life becomes effortless. Not easy. You're willing to work hard when you need to, but effortless, because you're doing those things that only you can do. Jen, it's so hard on a podcast, because if we weren't being recorded, and I know someone's listening in their car right now, I'd have held that silence if it was 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And I'm deliberately talking to you and not to Kasum, because my sense is sometimes an insight moment, you can see their eyes sparkle. They go, oh, they've got it. And sometimes an insight moment is when it's like someone pulled back the curtains for a second and you think there's a flash of a different possibility, but they close really fast. And my sense, Kasum, is there's this tiny bit of belief that maybe what Rich is saying is right, but you've got a whole lifetime experience saying that, you know what? I know another way of showing up. Then I know that works. And it would be cool if this did, but I haven't got a clue how. Am I right? Am I pointing in the right direction?
I want exactly what you just said to work, Rich. And that's my goal too. I don't want to be working like how I have in the past, because that's not the life I want to create for myself. I have the liberty not everyone has, because I see my husband, others in the corporate world, they don't have that liberty. We as entrepreneurs, we do. So I want to be able to create that life exactly as you said, but I'm not even making the effort right now. Somehow it's not even, I don't feel like I need to go create new clients. I'm coaching current clients and I'm happy coaching them. I'm like, how is that even, that does not make sense for me logically. I just somehow feel clients are going to come to me and I'm going to start coaching them, but I don't even feel the urge or the desire rather to go create clients. And when I started out this year, I wanted to have 100 conversations. I wanted to play the 90-day money game. And I don't feel that passion anymore. And I'm questioning myself.
Yeah. Look, you're questioning yourself because it doesn't fit into the paradigm that you have about the rules, the finite game. This is how you do it. You have to hustle. You have to do these certain things to get where you want to get next. And over here, my experience has been both with myself and all sorts of extraordinary clients over many, many years, as I see it again and again and again. There's another way of playing this game, life, business, whatever. And it's not for everybody. But the less I need a client, the paradox is the more they start knocking on my door. Every time. I don't want a new client right now. I've just signed a client for a large sum of money for a big agreement, which is really exciting to me. I do not want another client, and people are knocking on my door. How do I work with you? There's something around the energy of how we show up in that way. I don't even need to explain it. And you're having a little baby. Your system's telling you, oh, we're good for now. We're good. Look, here's something fun. If I phone a plumber and they can come round that afternoon for the problem I've got, the bus sink or toilet, whatever it is, I get really nervous because good plumbers are booked up for weeks ahead. And if someone can come immediately, that's an alert for me. So there's something in there when people start to speak to you and they say, hey, this was amazing. Can we do it again? Let's have a new agreement. Oh my God, I'm loving what you do, Kasum. Can I make a referral? And you say, you know what? You can, but I don't have a space for a client until February 2022. That's really enrolling. And we're terrified, oh my God, I'm going to have no money, no business. It makes you more attractive, not less. So I can see over on this side, as you slow down more than you've ever done, as you create less opportunity for people to work with you than has ever been before, there's extraordinary things on the way. You don't have to know what's coming.
Can I share something that came to me this morning during meditation, Rich?
Yeah.
Because exactly what we're discussing right now is what was going on in my mind during meditation. And what came up for me is there's an active phase of doing things and there's a passive state of doing things. And you need to be in the passive for things to integrate. So it was kind of a relief this morning to say that, okay, this is my passive phase and this is where I'm letting things integrate. Like you said, I feel internally that there's something big that's going to knock on my door. I don't know what that is, right? But I'm choosing to trust the process, and I always have. I've trusted that universe works in mysterious ways, and just to be okay with that every single day, to have that pep talk with myself, I'm still getting used to that. So yeah.
Yeah. Look. If you were a beginner coach, if you were struggling to pay the rent next month, you might be homeless, and you and the family kicked out of the house. We'd be having a different conversation. But you're in a place right now where actually learning how to, what you say, trust the universe, feels like the right thing for you. And I'll tell you, Jen, when I hear Kasum saying, there's an active way of doing things and a passive way of doing things, I'll translate. She's talking about doing and being, but being is so alien to her. She's got to describe it as passive doing so she can relax into, I'm still doing. How do I do being? I'll passively do. So you're on your path. It's great. It's great. And I'm doing this to bring lightness to it and so you can have fun with it. You're in the perfect place. You're in the perfect place. You'll see, your second trimester is a beautiful place. It's relaxing, it's fun, you have more energy, you feel great, you're glowing. People say how beautiful you look. Third trimester, I remember, it's hard. It's the belly gets big, you're extra tired. You haven't got the energy to do the things you were doing just a couple of weeks earlier. And that's life, right? It's in these cycles like this. And doing and being, you're in the right place. Thanks, Kasum.
Thanks, Rich.
Jen, what's your single biggest takeaway from today?
Well, I think just two things. Being more mindful of setting good boundaries for myself and keeping my own commitments. I do meet more commitments to other people than I do myself. And I need to build that muscle a little bit. And then just what you were talking with Kasum about is, I struggled with the being doing last year in the late summer after I had been starting to ramp up my business for about 3 months. And I got going so fast that I panicked, I think. And then I kind of shut down and I didn't really know what to do with that. So it's probably maybe a little bit like where she is at right now. I just got there really fast. But then I ended up just allowing myself to I didn't know what I was doing is learning how to be. But I took a couple months and didn't focus on really the business development, any business related things. I focused on my own development. I got a coach. I felt freed enough to join your 4PC Accelerator last fall. I would not have had any mental space to even think about that or consider it had I not been in that place of contemplation, maybe, about what it is that this was supposed to be for me. But I think I've done so many good things in the last, that really set me up for some really good, strong momentum for about 6 months. Could have never imagined being in Project Kairos on this podcast a year ago. So I know that I lined some things up. Great things kind of came to me that would not have had I not taken that time. I'm reminded that I need to, maybe I'm not taking 2 months of that, but I need to give myself the periods of time throughout a week, a month to be that way, to not feel like I need to that I don't need to be productive, or I shouldn't feel guilty because I'm not accomplishing a particular goal or moving as fast as I want. I just need to give myself permission to be able to do that when I need it.
Nice.
To reconnect.
At the intensive, I shared a concept from one of my clients. Matt Chavlovich is a former athlete, and he taught me this concept: rest day is training day. When you're a high performer, you want to be in active mode all the time. It's how we're driven people. So it gives me that freedom of, oh yeah, rest day is going to make me more productive down the road, which is what I need to allow myself to rest. Otherwise, I'll always be serving others and giving and knowing that, oh, rest day is going to help me give more. Okay, I can do that. Now I can take my rest.
Yeah.
Rest day is training day. Thanks, Jen. And Kasum, if you summed it up in a sentence, what's one takeaway from today for you?
I think it's the reassurance, Rich. I needed, that's exactly what I needed, the reassurance that this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing right now. Because that self-doubt had started to creep up now that I'm starting to feel better. So I needed to hear that from somebody else. That's not me or my inner voice.
Yeah, we can't do it for ourselves. I have 3 coaches right now for different aspects of my life and a therapist, actually. We can't do this for ourselves. Thank you for trusting me. Both of you, thank you. I said at the beginning that we wouldn't send the podcast out if we didn't get somewhere powerful, because that would allow me to relax and you can relax. And it turns out when we relax, powerful insights come. So I'm glad I'm on this journey with you in Project Kairos, and thanks for trusting me here today. This is great.
Of course, Rich. I think the only thing that I'm doing currently is being part of Project Kairos, and I've not been able to do my 100% there either, but hoping to catch up now that I'm in a
Well, let me offer you something interesting, right? Project Kairos isn't a course. It's not about, can you be there every time? Hey, we're watching you. We've seen you miss X amount of sessions. Come on. It's like, it's there for you when you need it. And sometimes it's just that reassurance that changes everything. So thanks for playing, both of you. I'll see you soon.
Thank you, Rich.
Thank you, Rich.
For most of human history, it wasn't called coaching. It was called leadership. And it's what I love to do, to coach people, to lead people, and to mess with people's thinking. If you'd like more of this, or if you'd like to learn more about our community of extraordinary top performers, go to richlitvin.com/oneinsight.